promise.
Okay, all right, mate.
See you, Tommy. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. You guys take care.
Love him.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Awesome. Housing prices have exploded in recent years, but there are still a few ways into the market if you know where to look.
Yeah, joining us with his real estate tips for 2015, Chief Economist with Domain Group, Andrew Wilson. Andrew, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, yes.
Believe it or not, there are still a few suburbs in Sydney which has gone through a boom, almost a silly boom for the last 2 or 3 years, hasn't it?
Well, we've had decade high growth in house prices in Sydney.
There are still some under 400 grand though.
Yeah, but even that's a bit scary, isn't it, that we've got to talk about just under 400 grand as being entry level. But it's the western suburbs of Sydney, Wilmot, Tregear and Lethbridge Bark are the most affordable.
Right.
But really they're now starting to push up towards that $400,000 mark. So I guess it's a question of buyers starting to look for value, and that means out of suburban locations. And we are seeing a lot of gentrification in those western suburbs of Sydney.
Right. Does the same go for Melbourne, the most affordable suburb?
Well, yes, look, typically outer suburban suburbs are the most affordable. Of course, that's where first home buyers headed for traditionally, was those, I guess, broadacre estates on the fringe of the capital cities. And you can see the difference there between Melbourne and Sydney as an example, as for entry-level properties, almost $100,000 difference. And there's only, even Melbourne only has 2 suburbs with a median below $300,000 as an entry level. So, look, it's a tough ask for first home buyers particularly.
Yeah. What about Brisbane?
Well, look, Brisbane, again, it reflects, I guess, the overall expensive nature of each of the capitals. Brisbane's similar to Melbourne in terms of those entry levels, but there are more suburbs with an entry level below $300,000 in Brisbane, out to the north, Ipswich to the west and down to Logan. So a bit more of a choice, but certainly prices have risen there as well.
And Adelaide, cheaper again?
Well, Adelaide the most affordable, but look, most of those Adelaide entry-level base suburbs are in the northern part of Adelaide, out to Elizabeth and, you know, areas which are typically more working class. And they've been underperformers really because of issues to do with the local economy. And of course, Perth, we can see again that disparity between prices, entry levels. Just one suburb there, Medina, in Perth below $300,000.
All right, run us through the suburbs you expect to show the most growth over the next 12 months. Start with Sydney.
Well, in Sydney, it could be basically anywhere. But, look, the top ones in Sydney still remain those inner west, upper North Shore, changeover buyer suburbs. There's a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy still in those suburbs. Buyers are active. There's confidence in the market. And we can see that. And also areas in the mid sections between the outer and inner suburbs, such as Bankstown, which people are now, buyers are starting to look at, again, because of those affordability barriers in the inner west. People start to look a little bit further out for more affordable options.
OK, let's whiz through them. Melbourne, these are the ones you expect to grow? Well,
look, Altona is becoming part of that more popular inner west of Melbourne, and that's now being Altona, Newport, these areas adjacent to the real growth areas of Footscray. Are now being looked at as buyers, and I think they have good upside potential. More mid-price range areas, Ashwood, Doncaster, very popular middle ring suburbs in Melbourne. I expect them to continue to grow.
And good access with the freeway out to Doncaster.
Right,
Brisbane?
Well, Brisbane, again, those mid-range suburbs, Chermside, Kedron, those areas, swinging right across to Indooroopilly. Prestige property in Brisbane also, I believe, has some upside. Hawthorn is one of those in the inner east of Brisbane. And just as a spec, Thornside in Redland, I think, offers some good value there for buyers going forward. And I think there's positive growth potential.
And in Adelaide, you like?
Well, once again, that Adelaide market is being activated by mid-price changeover buyers. I think there's some good buys there. Bel-Air down to the south, Hectorville closer into the north, and Broadview across to the east. I think there's some good value there. And I think we'll see active buyer activity there through the next year, or this year particularly.
OK, and in Perth?
Well, Perth, again, I think there's some East Fremantle offers prestige buyers. I think there's some upside to prestige, the prestige market in Perth. Perth's flattened over the last year or so, but it will once again be those mid-price range suburbs that are the best performers. Jundana is an inner city suburb to the north of Perth. and Langford some good value out to the east. So
really good tips there.
Yeah.
That's fabulous.
I hope so. Yes.
Yeah, no, that's great.
And in general, Andrew, do you think there's some talk that it seems that the market is softening a little bit? Do you think that's right?
Well, I think 2014 was characterised by real signs that the market had moved past its peak.
Yeah.
I think Melbourne, Sydney and Perth have definitely seen the high points of this cycle. Adelaide and Brisbane have sort of been in catch-up mode, but I think we're going to see in the future a much flatter housing market cycle going forward. We don't have the prospect of those interest rate rises, all falls that generate those waves of price growth and price declines. And I think we're going to have a much flat period going forward. Sydney's probably the exception, but Sydney's just got that underlying shortage of housing, plus a very strong local economy that keeps that local housing market percolating along.
Yeah.
But be another interesting year in 2015,
Be
I'm
fabulous,
sure.
and we'll catch up regularly. Good to see you.
Thank you so much, Scotchy. Thanks, guys.
Now, Spandau Ballet are legends of the music world. They